I've got to discuss something that's very close and near and dear to my heart. For months now, I've been on this show. I've been saying Raheem Morris has got to go. Tampa Bay needs to go in a different direction, hire a legitimate head coach for an NFL franchise, and thankfully, thank you God, Black Monday arrived. Tampa Bay finishes the season 10 straight losses. And the people in charge of the Buccaneers finally wake up and decide, this guy ain't ready to be a coach in the NFL. And they kick him to the curb, like I've been warning, like I've been suggesting. And it saves me a trip to Tampa Bay and doing it myself. So what happened here? What happened to a 10-6 football team that started 4-2 this year and tanked? Absolutely tanked, quit, didn't want to play no more, was cashing it in, was ready to go home and watch the playoffs on TV like we are this weekend. You take a 3-13 football team, Raheem Morris. You go into last season, and the 2010 season, with no expectations, nobody expecting you to do anything but go 3-13. You have a great year from Josh Freeman with 25 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. And you go 10-6. Notably, most of those games were against teams under 500. You beat up on the Arizona Cardinals. You beat the bad teams, and that was part of it. That 10-6 record, as much as I wanted to brag about my Bucs last year, was very deceiving unless you looked at the schedule. We didn't beat any good teams. And thankfully we didn't get in the playoffs because that might have delayed the inevitable firing of Raheem Morris. But we go into the 2011 season, we start 4-2. I'm optimistic. We beat the Saints. We beat the New Orleans Saints in our house. Drew Brees has one of the worst games of the season. Things are looking up. I'm optimistic. I'm excited. Here we go, playoffs 2011. Silly me, I forgot that we were just not that good. We're young, the youngest team in the NFL, and even though I didn't know it at the time, we were uninspired. You would think a 10-6 team that started 4-2 the next year would be very inspired, would be excited, would be ready to play week in, week out, ready to roll. And what happens? That same team, the same team that went 10-6 the year prior and started 4-2 the next season, lost 10 straight games. 10 straight, including a demoralizing, embarrassing defeat at the hands of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that nobody even cares about in Jacksonville. A team that can't even sell out their stadium, can't even fill it halfway. You go into Jacksonville and get romped. I mean, they ran up and down the field, made us look like a high school team. And then we go to Carolina. I didn't even talk about it. The Panthers made us look. There's teams in the upstate of South Carolina where I'm located. People listen to me. There are teams in this upstate of South Carolina that would drub the Buccaneers. And I'm serious about it. Because you got a quarterback in Josh Freeman who went from 25 TDs, listen to me, 25 TDs and 6 picks, to the worst quarterback in the NFL. In one season. How does that happen? Can somebody explain to me how that happens? Led the league with 27 picks. You go from 6 picks to 27 picks. That don't make no sense. So who's accountable? The head coach. It all comes back to the head coach, Raheem Morris. You didn't motivate your team. You didn't have them ready to play on Sundays. You took for granted a 10-6 year and a 4-2 start, and it tanked. You tanked, and therefore the team tanked. They didn't care anymore. They quit on the team. They quit on you, Raheem Morris. They didn't want to tackle. They let people walk up and down the field at will. That Carolina Panther game, the first time in my life, I'm serious. Jacksonville was bad, but with that Carolina Panther game, I was embarrassed to have that on my wall. I was embarrassed as a fan of Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm still embarrassed. The fact that we showed No, we didn't care. The fact that we didn't show up to play the game, the fact that we didn't even want to bother tackling anybody was an embarrassment to the city of Tampa Bay. It was an embarrassment to the state of Florida. It was an embarrassment to anyone who wears the colors pewter, red. It was an embarrassment to the Tampa Bay organization. And frankly, I think the firing of Raheem Morris was a few weeks too late. As I've said for the past couple of months, it should have been done after Jacksonville and certainly after that Panther loss. Well, there's only 2 weeks left. What kind of message? It sends a message that you're not going to lose that way. Okay? We're not going to have guys quitting on the team, quitting on the coach because the coach can't get them motivated to play the game. And doesn't care. I don't even think he cares. Good luck in your future endeavors, Raheem Morris. You suck. I never want to hear your name again with regard to Tampa Bay, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I never want to see your face. I never want to see your face again. I'm done, Raheem Morris. Get out of here and take Josh Freeman with you. You stink. He stinks. Be gone. So who replaces Raheem Morris? That's a good question. You've got guys like Bill Cowher, Jeff Fisher, established well-named coaches who aren't going to Tampa Bay because our top brass won't spend the money to bring a head coach of that ilk into the Buccaneer organization. So who does that leave? You got guys they won't shell out the Benjamins to get. So you got to look at a defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator. Specifically to me, I want a defensive coordinator because that's what we need to go back to in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay won a Super Bowl on the premise of defense, dominating defense. And I don't want to hear this crap about, oh, it's an all offense-driven league. There's no more defense played in the NFL. A great defense will still beat a great offense. Every time. I know because I saw it. I have seen it year in, year out. If you draft well, if you do the right free agent signings, if you do a trade, whatever you got to do, bring a smart defensive-minded coach in, you can beat a great offense if you have a great defense. It can happen. I saw it in my Super Bowl. The Super Bowl that those guys won in 2002 season, they beat the number one offense. Rich Gannon had 10 300-yard games that year. They were a dominant offense. We were a dominant defense, and we drubbed them in the Super Bowl. Mike Zimmer, defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, should be, and I think will be, the next head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has a defensive mind, has the mind to make this a defensive football, top 10, top 5 football team. Hopefully better, but at least a top 5, top 10 team. And he doesn't take crap. There ain't going to be no guys quitting on him. Okay? In case you don't know who Mike Zimmer is, he's a defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, as I said. He's the kind of guy who's not going to take crap. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. You're not going to have guys missing tackles and not caring. You're not going to have a guy make a bad play and just hang his head on the sideline and act like it don't matter. No, you're going to play or you're going to get out. Mike Zimmer should be, and I think will be, the next head coach in Tampa Bay. As for Miami, I think Jeff Fisher is headed there. Since North Turner somehow, some way is staying put. I don't know who he has pictures of who doing the what. Same for Andy Reid. Apparently you can just lose forever and it's all good. No biggie. Whatever. Who wants to win a Super Bowl? St. Louis? I don't know. Some offensive coordinator somewhere. I mean, why would anyone want to go to St. Louis? Right now they're in shambles. Until they get an offensive line that can protect Sam Bradford, they're not going to do anything. The word is, at least on Kuiper's big board, that they're getting the guy from USC to help do just that, but I don't know. They're going to need a complete overhaul in that O-line to protect Bradford, or he's going to play 5-6 games a year and they're not going to win anything.